AI. The topic is bringing AI to mobile apps using Flutter. So we are going to the whole talk about today is going to be fixated on Flutter, Dart, Gemini, Vertex AI, and of course Firebase Studio. So I think that will be it. So I'll be moving to the next slide. So the next slide has to do with discussing what Flutter is. So is something that when you're not a Flutter developer and you hear it, when you search it online, you get to see a Flutter bed or stuff like that. On the technological side, Flutter is a UI toolkit that is managed and built by Flutter by the Google team in order for us to build cross-platform applications. Is a development toolkit created by Google, and it allows us to build not just fast mobile applications, but applications that are cross-platform, applications that can hot reload, applications that can give you that particular native feeling of a particular platform you're running on, whether iOS, Android, web, and a whole lot of devices you can think of. So, from my experience working with Flutter, I can say that there is no particular platform I've tried running Flutter on that Flutter was not compatible with. I'm yet to see, and we've seen the amazing things other companies are using Flutter to do in the gaming side, in TVs, and a whole lot of stuff. A lot of companies and organizations and industries are adopting Flutter to build cross-platform applications, cross-platform utilities in more advanced way that we can see. So the next section, this just be a brief section, just a little slide asking us asking us what is AI. So we keep on hearing about AI, artificial intelligence, and a whole lot of stuff. So when it comes to mobile development, that is building applications using Flutter or building mobile applications for mobile, we call it smart apps. So it's more or less like introducing smart AI to Flutter, and we're going to be talking about how Flutter does this on the background and how this is possible. So AI is something everyone hears about. It is literally artificial intelligence that enables machines to mimic human intelligence. Literally, we used to see it as if someone can do this in in a method. Okay, put computer in the first instance. When we started the age of computing and all of that, we are like a calculator can help you calculate things that will take you years to calculate. Now it's not just a calculator. It's no longer a computer again. It's something that tries to mimic your intelligence as a human being. It tries to get that consciousness you have as an individual, as a human being, that blood runs through your bloodstreams and all of that. But it tries to get based on trend data, it tries to depict actions or events or give you, like, we have AI in different forms, generative AI in health tech, MedLM, PAM, and a whole lot of stuff. AI is distributed in all forms of industries and a whole lot of utilities and all of that. Then bringing it to Flutter, when you're integrating AI with Flutter, it gives you that advantage for you to use Flutter to build this wonderful cross-platform application that can work on all platforms, web, Android, iOS, and integrating it with Gemini, Vertex AI, and a whole lot of AI tools that or models that we know of. I currently work in health tech and also in transportation. And in health tech, we are using a whole lot of models from Gemini, from MedLM, and a whole lot of models that help you integrate health tech, that help you integrate care to individuals, where they can do document recognition, they can ask questions regarding to their health, and because of what they call AI, that is not just AI that answers all questions. Is it has constraints, it has regulation. AI that is regulated. When you ask a question that is something relating to maybe going off consultation to maybe take drugs and all of that, when you've not gone to the hospital, is regulated. So it gets to know that this is not meant to be. Like I'm feeling dizzy. I'm feeling dizzy and I'm asking the AI, which drug should I go take? So the AI, because it's regulated and is trained with models, and it's not just an AI that just gives you whatsoever that you just give to it, just like the computer. When you press the button or your power button, it goes off. When you turn it on, it comes in. It works with your input, garbage in, garbage out. But now these AIs are different. They try to mimic the particular role they are being trained to mimic. You build a telemedicine app and it has a chatbot, and you want the chatbot to mimic a real human interaction where if you speak with a doctor gives you instruction or give you guidance or give you whatsoever based on medical practices and best known practices. This AI is trained with these best known practices in the sense that when it's interacting with you or when you're interacting with it, it follows these regulations. So that's how I want us to see AI to be like. Then in this whole context, we have tools of the trade, things we'll be working with or things we'll be discussing, Firebase Studio, Gemini, and Vertex AI. We saw a recording about Firebase Studio and the wonderful thing the Google team is doing on it and the beautiful thing it has. Then we saw about Gemini, which is formerly BARD, and we know about Vertex AI. So literally, with what we've seen and with what we've gotten from Google I/O and from previous code labs and stuff, we know that there is no limitation to what you can use AI to build, literally. Coupled with the fact that Firebase Studio is open source, is open to everyone to use, is not something that once you start, you have to like enable credit card or stuff like that. It's for you to go experiment it out. And we're going to be looking at it as well. We're going to look at what we can use it to do. We're going to be using Gemini and we'll talk about Vertex AI as well. Then Flutter plus AI. So why Flutter? Literally, you know, there are other utilities that you can use to build mobile application, but there's a reason people like me and everyone is, including you, is more fixated or like excited about what Flutter brings to the picture. So the most important thing about or the key takeaway about Flutter and Flutter's role in bringing or building smart apps, AI smart apps, is the fact that Flutter is cross-platform and Flutter has a whole lot of one code base for Android and iOS, the fast UI, the rich design, integrating not just building an app that looks good, but building an app that looks native on the particular platform you're running on, and a particular app that gives you that feeling. If you are building a Flutter app and you are targeting iOS devices and you are using all of these beautiful widgets that Flutter brings on the Cupertino side, it gives you that same feeling that you get to have, or that feeling you get when you build with Swift or Objective C. When you're building with Swift UI or UI kit, you get that same feeling. So that's one of the things Flutter brings into the picture. The hot reload and a whole lot of stuff. So that's why Flutter is in the front line of integrating or building smart apps using AI. And there are packages that are open for you to utilize, like Flutter AI Toolkit, Google Generative AI, and Firebase Vertex AI. So these are ways you can utilize this stuff we are going to talk about in these videos. They are like packages in pub.dev that you can bring to your app and utilize them. So the next is AI powered use cases in Flutter. So there are tons of them. You can build a whole lot of stuff with AI, with the power of Gemini, generative AI, and a whole lot of stuff. What matters, the only constraint you're going to have is depending on the model you are using. So the constraint is the model. So you can be using a model that is not, maybe, let's say a model that is not trained the way this model is being trained. Just the same way when you are using 2.0 as in Gemini 2.0, and you see Gemini 2.0 Flash, you see Gemini 2.5 Pro and all of that. So you get to see that there are different models, and these models have things they can do. They can support audio, they can support text, they can do this, and the data they are trained with, that creates the intelligence the AI gets to give to you. So there are a lot of what they call it, use cases in Flutter, like building what we're going to build today. So I'm going to show you what we have. So day before yesterday or thereabouts, my thought was to build a chatbot, but I would say I got excited. I was running on something and I felt like, let's build a cooking assistant. So I built it. We're going to run through it. Then I wrote an article for it where you're going to see how to build it as well. We also discuss it on the call, run it, and get to know about it. We can build smart email and message composer. You can build an app that instead of you typing, the same way WhatsApp records audio, instead of you to type, you record. You tap on the record button, it records. Immediately you're done, it does text to speech. It converts your text to your speech, and it gives you a composed text box. We're going to do something like that in this cooking assistant we are doing. We're going to utilize something exactly like that. So where you talk, while you're talking, is it has the capacity to recognize your speech. Once it recognizes your speech, it knows you are talking, it will be giving you what you're saying the same way. Let's put it the way WhatsApp works, but not like WhatsApp allows you to record. But this one, you're trying to convert your speech to text. Then there are the other usage of AI, like image caption generator. You can do a whole lot of stuff with AI that is on both the general field, the general field, and also in a niche industry like health tech, medicine, and a whole lot of stuff, even including transportation, including ed tech. Literally, AI has no limitation. Depending on the only constraint it has is depending on the data to which it is trained with. Then why building smart apps? You can't build smart apps and not talk about optimization, how to optimize it. So literally, it goes through the front phase of building applications. When you're building applications, you need to look at the performance optimization. Literally, it goes through the process of minimizing widget build, using cons, constructors, using where possible. Literally, when you have a test that you know that is not going to change, this is a test widget and it has like a name called build with AI. And you know that this test is not going to change. When you don't use the const keyword there, whenever you run a reload, it rebuilds it because it doesn't know that this is constant, that it doesn't change. But when you use a const keyword, you know that this is constant, this is not going to change. During rebuild, this is not going to rebuild. And then optimizing state management. Optimizing state management can go into different categories, into different forms. But for the essence of the core, I've written articles that talk about optimizing Flutter applications in the past, and I will refer us to it possibly in the end of the video. And there's a whole lot of stuff that is on the background. When you are, let's say you are building an application or a smart app that is generating images, and these particular images you are generating, when you are generating them, there is no form of lazy loading or image loading mechanism you are working with. So that way, it gets to always not catch the images. So there are ways you can optimize it using a public package, catch network image that you can use to catch this particular image that you're getting. We're also using it in this particular project we're going to build. And a whole lot of stuff like avoid large widgets and lists. So it can go on and on and on and on and on and on and on. So this presentation is something that just gives you like a glimpse of where we are going to. Then we dive into the coding. Then we can start. So I have the project. I'll be dropping the project on the chat box so that we can be able to clone it. So I'll be dropping it on the chat box here. So you can go ahead and clone it to your local. So okay. So what we're going to be building is a cooking assistant. So I will show you the chat app, the chat app that we are meant to work on, but this is more enticing and more sweet. I will run you through the chat app, the chatbot, and a whole lot of stuff regarding to that. Then we'll move into the coding assistant. So I'll stop sharing from here and start sharing my full screen. This should be my full screen exactly. Yep. Amazing. Okay. So what we're going to be building is we're going to be building something that gives you let me show you what we'll build first. Let me take this down. This is the article I'm going to send, the tutorial of everything we are building. I wrote it specifically for this section. Just a minute, give me a second. There's a place to drop the screenshot. Exactly. So this is what we're going to be building. We are going to be building an app. So what it does is you want to look for a recipe for a food that you want to prepare, or let's say the preparation step or the YouTube video or a particular dish you saw. Possibly you went to a restaurant and you saw this beautiful food that they just served you and you've not seen it before. Maybe one Italian restaurant or something like that, or maybe a drink or something you've not seen, maybe chops or snacks that you've not seen before. You just saw it and you loved it and you are like, how can I prepare this? So that's what the app does. So what it will do using Gemini is it helps you either capture the food or the snack or the drink, or you assuming you have the picture in your device already and possibly in your gallery, you can pick it from your gallery. So what it does is you snap this particular image, you send the request. Gemini looks at this particular image you've gotten using this method of looking at the image and recognizing it and a lot of stuff. On the background, it looks at the image with the prompt you've given to it, and it generates the recipe for, it gives you the name of the food, the official name of the food, it gives you the recipe for the food or the snack or the drink, and then gives you the preparation techniques, the preparation instructions on how to prepare it, step by step on how to prepare it. And it tries to find a YouTube video that is available that you can follow for you to watch and maybe cook with the person or prepare it with the person. That's what we're going to be building. That's what we're going to be working through. And on the other hand, most of the times you might not have a picture of a food or have like an image of the food. Possibly you just possibly you want to use voice recording or stuff like that. It also has the ability for you to like tap the recording. Once you are talking, the speech recognition starts. Then while you are talking to the microphone or while you are using your microphone to speak, it has text to speech to text, sorry, and it will be giving you exactly what you're saying. As I mentioned, if you are building an image composer, let's say you don't want to type it, you want it to be that you voice what you want to compose, it converts it, and it can send or it can auto send or stuff like that. So we're also doing stuff like that here. But what we are doing is when we record, it recognizes what we are saying, gets exactly what we've said, convert it to a text, and it does it while we are speaking actually. You'll be seeing it while you are speaking to it. Once you are done and you stop recording, it will convert what you've said into text and then place it inside the text box. And sometimes you might pronounce something in a French dialect, or someone like me who's a Nigerian that is in Lagos, I can pronounce a particular native food that we eat here, or a native food I saw in one African country, and it can't get the spelling correctly. So that it gives you the ability for you to edit what you've said or what it has recognized. Then when it is what you want, you can now send the request. It runs through the request, then it gives you the same process, it gives you the same result or the image. This time around, you're not uploading an image because you just voice recorded. You just recorded your voice and listen to your voice. So it didn't get any image. So this time around, it will generate an image of the food, generate the recipe, generate the preparation step, and it gives you the YouTube tutorial. The YouTube tutorial and the images, most of the times, are not what is online because of the model we are using. As I mentioned, this works perfectly depending on the model, or I won't say perfectly. This works in a more realistic way depending on the model you're assessing. That is what makes it possible. Then let's dive into code. So I don't know if there are questions or anything, so we can dive into code. Let me know if there are questions. I don't know if there are questions, or should I continue? Okay. Okay. I'll continue right away. So let's dive into code. So what we have is just a simple setup. We just have a simple setup that is in our main.dat. So the app is structured in this form. So let me just minimize this, minimize this, minimize this, and this is it. So the app is just structured in this form, where you have the core folder, you have the infrastructure folder, you have the presentation folder. Presentation has components, which is just this toast, the toast package, which is used for alerts and stuff like that. If you're coming from native Android, you get to see there is a toast built-in package or stuff like that. So there's a toast package, which is this toast package. I'm trying to create it as a reusable component so that I don't get to like redefine the whole structure. So I get to call it up just by referencing this and calling up just the message and the status. The status is just an enum, so we'll get to that as well. So the status is just an enum class where I get to know whether the toast is a success or an error. That way, I can give an error color, which is this error color that is red, or I can give a primary color that is a color that looks as if it's successful using the enum. This is just the enum. Enum is just here, just success and error. That's what is just there. Then we have the success screen, the home screen, which is something we'll look at next. That one is very big. Let's look at the constants. Inside the constants, we have the enum, which I just mentioned, the status. Then we have the record source. These are just enums. So the record source is going to help you when you want to pick an image. So the image you want to pick, is it from the gallery? Is it from the camera? It gets to know exactly where you're going to pick the image from, as we are building everything as a usable component. Then we have app colors. The app colors is just a normal class that have static properties that you can just without initializing this or creating an object from it, you can just access this primary method and just like that. So there are other ways to do this. This is just like preference and all of that. Then we have another class, which is very important, which is the app string. The app string just has the AI model I'm using. It has the app subtitle. It has the app title. It has the AI test part. This AI test part is instruction I'm giving to the AI. And it has the audio part, the different instruction I'm giving to the AI as well. So we're going to see this in action in a bit. Then we have the extensions. The extensions is just really what this thing is doing. I'm using it for I'm using it is an extension that I'm using to get the bytes. So if I pick up an image, I want to see how many MB it is or stuff like that. I didn't get to even use this. I don't know if I ended up using it. I can't really remember. Then we have the loading extension. This loading extension, I'm just using it so that I can be able to create an overlay. So I'm using in this main.dat, I have a loader, a spinkit, a load overlay. So the load overlay, you're going to see it in action. This is me extending the build context so that I can be able to be using context.showLoader like this and context.hideLoader like this so that the build context can be extended on, like an extension on it, so that I can be able to be calling it like that. Then I have the to file. I have the to file. The to file just does this. It just comprised of this, and then I have the to file tool. I'm going to show you where I'm using this. Then I have the shared folder. The shared folder, this is exactly I'm using it to file. So the shared folder is it has an image picker. The image picker has the whole setup I need for me to pick images. For me to pick, assuming you want to do something that is way different, maybe what they call it, maybe file recognition, or you want to pick multiple images or stuff like that. So this is the setup I'm using, this particular setup I'm using. The one for pick image from gallery, and the one for which one again? Exactly. Take picture from camera. So this is a full helper class. So it can do a whole lot of stuff outside. It can also pick video shoots in case you want to take this particular app to the next level or stuff like that. Then we have let's go to the infrastructure side. Okay, the infrastructure side. The infrastructure side has 3 files: the image upload controller, the recipe controller, and the speech to test. So I won't be diving much into explaining all of this, as I have a detailed article that explains the code bit by bit in every form, what every of them is doing bit by bit, every particular class, every particular function. So I'll be giving this particular article, I'll be dropping it in the course. So it has a more detailed explanation and stuff because of time, so we'll not dive into much of it. So this handles everything that has to do with the imaging, that has to do with image upload. So I have the one that crops the image. If I snap an image, I want to crop it. If I want to pick an image, this is the particular method or function that helps me pick an image. So when I pick up an image, I want to know exactly, as I mentioned, the record source. I want to know if the image is, if the person is calling up the image from camera or from gallery, which is in this form now. If I press this, it shows me a bottom sheet, and this bottom sheet has this function here and has this function here. So where do I want to pick it up from? This particular one has an enum, which has enum.gallery. This one has enum.camera. So I get to know where exactly it is coming from. So I can be able to show, give me a minute. So I can be able to show from here, if it is if the record source is enum.gallery, I'll know that I get to pick the image from the gallery. But if it is from the camera, and now I have to take the picture from the camera. So let's take this, let's put up this in action. When I pick up the image, it gets to know that this is an action coming from the image of camera. This is Samosa. Exactly, it gets to pick up the image. So also when you pick up the image, we have an image previewer, which is in the widget. So let me show you the image previewer. I think this way will be better for you to get to understand it very well. So we have an image previewer. The image previewer helps you to preview the image which you've selected, which is this image you've selected now. You get to get the particular picked file. So when you pick up a file, when you pick a file, or when you select a particular image, it's not just a string, it is of type file. And this file is something that you can actually render using, we have different ways of rendering images, assets, network, and the likes. This way, give me a minute. Exactly. This way we have a file image, and this file image is an image that you get from a file. From let me check the chat box in the questions. Okay, is an image that gets to be visible, or you get to see when you have to, when you maybe pick the file or you have like a file source or stuff like that. So you get to see the image, it gets to be rendered here. Then we have the network image, the asset image, and stuff like that. Okay, let's move over to this. For us to fully understand what is happening here, so this is just an API I'm getting. This API I'm getting it from Gemini Studio, which you can get from here. So I just dropped it on my tab here. You can just create a new API here, and also you don't need to expose the API like this. So on the article, I also mentioned a method. I've written an article where you get to secure your API, where you don't get to keep it like this, expose it like this. If you expose it like this, if someone reverse engineer your app or do anything to your app, maybe you push it to any source control system or platform like GitHub or GitLab, it gives you a way that you're exposing API and stuff like that. So this is just for demonstration purpose. So maybe, and it's for now, not like for now, we can create this. It doesn't require billing details or stuff like that. You can just create a new one on the fly, but you have to have a Firebase project that you have to create it from. So you create a Firebase project, and then you target it from there and create the particular API key that you need, Gemini API key that you need. So the next thing there is look at this structure. Look at the structure we have. Just a minute. So this is our scaffold. This is where our scaffold starts from here. So our scaffold starts from here. And from the very first start, what we have here is a floating button. So we have a floating action button. This floating action button is what I'm using to send the request. But it only becomes visible when I select a file or when I've entered maybe when I've recorded and there's speech recognition taking place and there's speech to text that's taking place, and then this particular test I have, which is a text editing controller, is not empty. That's when I get to see this send request. So if I remove this, you don't get to see it again. You can get to upload or you get to record. That's where you get to see this particular floating action button. So what does the floating action button do? The floating action button calls the send request, which this send request takes us to this recipe controller. Recipe controller is just a controller that helps you communicate with Gemini, send the image to Gemini for it to translate it and give you the generated text. It sends the audio also, and also displays this particular bottom sheet, not the bottom sheet, the alert box that gives you that whole structure in the design, in the screenshots I gave. So it calls up this, but while it's calling up this particular method, this method requires a whole lot of stuff because of what we are doing with it. It requires a build context, the selected file, also the model. So this model is the generative model here. This generative model, where is it coming from? This generative model is coming from this particular package here. Okay, I didn't show us the packages we are using. It's coming from this particular package, which is this generative AI. It's coming from this generative AI. So while you are working with generative AI, you also get to mention the model you are using, the API keys, and a whole lot of stuff. I think we saw it on the video we were watching earlier, and you get to define it. And this way, you get to use this particular model or this particular package to communicate with Gemini, and Gemini gets to handle the particular operation you want, whether it is any particular action that you might have in mind, literally, that it is regulated to give you. So this particular model is here, but it's not yet defined here. It's late there, but this is where I got to give it everything that it needs, where it needs the model. So this is the model we are using, Gemini 2.0 Flash, and this is the API key, which is API key is this. So I also get to pass this model, which is this model here. I get to pass it when I'm sending the request, so that I'm abstracting the logic a little, not a little, in the way I can, even though I knew that other refactoring we can do. I'm trying to remove all of the logics that is happening here as a little, and taking all of them into the infrastructure section, where we have the recipe controller, the speech to text controller, and the image upload controller. So where we get to do the heavy lifting that we get to do. So this particular one that we're working with, you need the file that you selected, this particular image you picked from the gallery, or this particular image you've captured, and then the model we are working with, and you need the build context because you'll be doing stuff relating to, with the context. Okay, we are passing the context to the display recipe where we're making use of it as well. And you also need the remove file and the remove test. So when you generate a particular recipe and you walk through with it, you wouldn't want when you close the bottom, when you close the alert box for what you've, except if you don't want what you've searched before or your previous request to be there. What I mean is this: If I send this request and pick up, let's say pizza, and I send this request, it runs through this process. Give me a minute. It gives you the recipe name, the ingredient, and stuff like that, and the preparation steps. Once I close this, it calls up this remove file. This remove file does stuff like resetting the whole screen so you can be able to start afresh and send in a new request. So you can do from here, you can do other kind of stuff. You can do stuff like possibly storing it, send this particular image to Firebase storage, keep it there, send what you have to Firebase for Firestore database so that you can store it and you can get to view your previous request. You can keep a save button here, and this save button uploads to Firebase storage. After uploading to Firebase storage, it gets the download URL, uses download URL with what you've gotten. You send it to Firebase database for Firestore database, and then you can be able to possibly get a history of your previous request and stuff like that. But if you don't want, for simplicity's sake, once I close this, it resets everything. Everything gets resetted. So everything gets reset. So that is exactly why I'm passing this remove file. This remove file, what it does is very simple. It just removes, it sets the selected file to null and the file size to null. That's just what it does. So when it's selected, when this is null, I get to know that this particular image is not selected. And from the condition I placed here, which as I mentioned, this whole particular demo we have here is structured in the tutorial. So you get to like read it and see the whole structure. Everything is explained. So I'm like trying to run you through the whole process. So if you are recording, first of all, you have two processes here. The two processes you have is a process that you can record, or you can snap or share. You can snap or you can pick. So when you're recording, you don't want, except you're defining it in the sense that you want to record and also upload an image. So what I did is, if you're recording, automatically this goes away. You don't need to pick up the image again. That's why it's done recording is here. So that if it's done recording, you don't get to see it at all. As in if it's not done recording, you don't get to see it. If it's done recording, whenever an action is coming from the recording side, you don't get to see it. But when it is not recording, you get to see it. If the selected file is visible, you don't get to see. If the selected file is not null, you get to see this image previewer, which this image previewer we just showed. If it's not null, you get to see this particular upload controller. This upload controller, see what it shows you here. Just give me a minute. This upload controller is the one that picks the file, as I mentioned. So we have everything in the controller here. But this particular widget we have, or this component we have here, is from this upload container here. And as I mentioned, all of this is explained in the blog tutorial. What this just does is for it to facilitate and give you this dotted border setup and a good look that you can get to see this whole structure. When you pick up an image, it goes away. It gives you the image previewer where you get to see the image. You can remove the image, or you can replace the image. When you pick up the image or whatsoever you pick up, you can get to edit it. The editing it is just, it calls up the bottom sheet again for you to pick up another image and stuff like that. So you can pick up another image, you get to preview it, or you can click this button. Once you click this button, it does the same thing. It sets the image, the selected image to null. Because of the constraints we've placed, or the logic we've placed, where this particular image previewer shows only when the image is picked. Once I remove the image, it shows you this, and you can get to pick up again. So I don't know if there are questions. Are there questions on the chat box? Let me check. Okay, there are no questions. Okay, let's move on. So that's the setup for that one. So let's see this in action. Okay, before that, let's also look at the text to speech. So the text to speech works like this. So let me start talking. Once I click on this, I start listening to my text. I start listening to myself, to the microphone. So we have permissions that we also enabled for this, that asks you, once you install the app, you get to be you need permission literally when you want to take access someone's gallery or their storage, that is their phone storage and stuff like that. On the Android side, there is record audio permission, camera permission, internet permission, because you're using Gemini, and then read external storage. The read external storage helps you to access your gallery and your files and stuff like that. Then on the iOS side, we have stuff on the info.p list. This info.p list, we have the first one, which is the speech recognition usage. So we are using a particular package which is called speech to text. The speech to text makes use of a speech recognition algorithm, which we need the permission for it in the iOS side. But for the Android, the record audio permission handles that. Then we need permission also for the camera, for you to be able to use the camera, which is this permission here. We need permission for microphone. We need permission for your photo as well. We also need permission for what they call it, the YouTube library package you are also using, which is transport security. We have a YouTube library we are using that displays the YouTube video, so you can be able to play it. So in iOS, you need to also enable that. Okay, that's it. So also, as I mentioned, all of these and these permissions in details I explained. So I took my time to explain it in the tutorial, as I mentioned. So it's explained verbatically there. And so let me start recording this. So let me click on this. So another thing I did to this is, while I click on it, it will start giving an animation, a glowing animation. So first of all, let's look at this button first. Let's look at this button. Let's look at where the button is. Just a minute. Let's find where the button is. The button is somewhere. Exactly, glowing mic button. So you also need to know when you're listening. So when you're listening, you don't have to show the glowing. Sorry, you show the glowing when you're listening. When you're not listening, you don't show the glowing. So the glowing just has a tiny animation to it, just a very, very tiny animation, nothing too much, just a twine. And it has just a little, use this animation builder. What it does is just, it gives you the, where would I explain this from? Okay. So you have a particular background, a particular color, let's say blue, and you want that whenever you start recording, that will be like an image of that particular color you are using, but with an opacity that is lower, and then it will be glowing, just like this. Let me show, just like this. When you click on it, okay, just a minute. Guess I'll have to refresh this. Okay, speech, we try permanent. Okay, let's queue this up and review it again. Okay. Okay, while the app is building, let's look at some other parts. Okay, outside outside the glowing part, what we are doing with the glowing button is just to listen to ourselves. When we are talking, we are using a particular package called this particular package. Just a minute, let me show you the package we are using. I also explained it in tutorial text to speech. So text to speech, it has an algorithm where while you are talking, it will be converting your speech to text, and it will be giving you that particular text in in a form where you can either copy it or make use of it, and possibly it has different use cases, and we're just using it in the most simplest form. So what we are doing here is, when we start listening to it, first of all, we get to trigger this is recording to true. So we get to know that it's recording. While it's recording, we don't need to show the upload setup again, the component, as I mentioned. We don't need to show it up again. So we know that it's recording. So you don't need to pick up a file, except if you've structured your system or you've designed your platform where you need the image or you want to upload the image also, which is also possible. So if you want to do stuff like that, it then means that you don't need to do any flagging here or do any logic where you get to set it to true and stuff like that. So another thing is speech enabled, and that was the problem we are having. So the speech enabled is some after you've initialized the speech to text, it gets to set the speech enabled to true. So you get to know that you can start using it. So this particular setup is a setup from the package where you get to initialize it. You initialize it like this. This is just the initialization here. Initialize it like this. After initialization, it sets it to true. Then you get to know that this particular package is ready to be used. It's ready to start recognizing your speech and start converting it to text and stuff like that. So if there is an error, which was that error we were just getting just a few minutes ago, a few seconds ago, we are seeing speech. So if this particular speech is not, if the initialization has a problem or the setup has a problem, you get to see this kind of error, and then it's it returns, it like stops the operation and you don't get to do another thing. But if the speech is enabled, the speech initialization is enabled, it gets to start listening. So while it's listening, it will start giving you what you're saying. So let's just wait for this to build while we are done. Then this other one, what it does is the stop listening just stops the listening. Then it sets the keyword to what it last or what it has captured last, which is this set keyword method here. This set keyword method, it just does a simple thing. If the prompts that you've passed, which is your last words that you've passed, which the test the speech to test package got, if it's empty, that you didn't say anything, it will just tell you that we didn't hear anything. And you can remember when we talked about the toast info that gives you the toast. So it gives you something like a toast that says we didn't hear anything. That is, it didn't hear you say something or stuff like that. Then what it does is it sets the recording to false and then sets its non-recording to false as well, should in case it was true in the past. But if that's not the case, what it does is very simple. It sets this last word to empty. It's not meant to send this. Okay, yes, it sets it to empty. That is what you said. It sets it to empty. So it clears out that thing you've said, and then it passes what you've said to a particular test editing controller, which is this test editing controller that is here, so that you get to see that test bus. There's a test bus you get to see in that image. While this is loading, we can just get to see the preview real quick. Just a minute. Exactly. Which is this setup here. So while it gets what you've said, once you click on this particular pause button, that is you are done or stop button, it removes this test here. Once it removes the test, before it removes it, it takes it, place it inside, assign it to the test property of the test editing controller, enable this particular test field to be available, this test area to be visible. Then the controller of the test area is already the test the test editing controller you've assigned the test to. Then it shows it visible, and it has the test area has a autofocus to be true. So immediately it's done, it takes you to this automatically. So you get to like type or correct whatever you send and stuff like that. Then you send your request, it does it. That's the whole setup for that. Okay, I think we are good now. Yeah. So let's see. Okay, speech test, exactly. So it also gives you the status. So you also get to know when the status of the speech recognition, if it's available or not. So let's try it out now. Hello. Okay, we're getting an error for some reasons. Let's see. It's not listening. There's an error somewhere.
But I use speech to text widget package. I like it, but it never works on emulator. I always test on real device. So is it working now on emulator?
Yeah, it is possibly having tiny issues. Let me just I've queued the app. Let me run the app so that it can ask for permission again.
Oh, great! So maybe
Okay.
they fix this issue.
Yeah, it's meant to ask you for permission, and that permission is already there. So I don't know if I won't say it works on constraints or stuff like that. No, that would be something not to say, because I used it and it was perfect. So what I just need to do is I've queued the app. So while the app is here, let's use this period and look at some other things outside this app while the app is running. So let's look at one of the things I wanted us to look at through the call, Firebase Studio, while we are building this app. Once it's done, we'll come back to it. So Firebase Studio is, as I mentioned, the full stack AI workspace, which is something that was being emphasized for the past, I think for the past few weeks now, since its launch. So Firebase Studio can help you, as you are seeing, people call it Android Studio on the web. It's very funny, but it gives you that feeling. So this is Android Studio. It gives you that feeling of Android Studio, where you can also run stuff, and it doesn't just do that. It helps you utilize AI to its full capacity. So we are going to be trying it out. So this is the link to it. I think we all have seen it before. But give me a minute. Let me just give you the link to it. Just type Firebase Studio like Firebase Studio. It gives you this link, this Firebase Studio.
And let's mention that this amazing tools for someone who wants to try Flutter but don't want to install anything. So today is
Exactly.
super easy without installing anything. Just open browser and you can prepare full stack with front end and back end application. Just in few
Yeah,
lines of code.
exactly. Yeah. So Firebase Studio is amazing, so much amazing that you get to give a particular I don't know what to call it, an IDE, a platform, a
It
prompt.
was IDX. Earlier it was IDX Studio, and I used it
Exactly.
a lot, and now it's Firebase Studio. Yes,
Yeah.
amazing tool,
Yeah.
really amazing tool.
Amazing. So we're going to use it. We'll give it a prompt. So while we give it a prompt, and it doesn't, the truth of the matter is, is not just something you use to build. Let's just say, it's not just something you use to build only AI applications, as I mentioned. You can just pick up Flutter, and the same way you're creating your Flutter application, let's say a to-do app, and just a minute, I'll create it. The same way I'm creating it on Android Studio, by going to file, going to new project. So it's not a must you start with a prompt, or you start with something relating to AI at first. You can just start something and then start going your way up and stuff like that. Okay, this app is back. Let's just check it out. Why that one? Exactly. So speech recognition, it has asked for the permission. Let's allow it. Let's allow microphone. Let's check it out. Okay, it's still giving us an error. Okay, so guys, you're going to be debugging. We're going to be debugging this together. Let's see where we are getting an error from. And speech recognition error message. This is where the error is coming from. Okay, exactly. Speech error is coming from here. So it's speech recognition message error entry. Okay, error entry. Let's see what the problem could be.
And of course, you can copy paste this error to Gemini, asking about help how to solve this solution.
Yeah.
Flutter gives
Okay.
meaningful errors, so it's
Exactly.
easy.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
I
Let's use
love
Gemini.
Flutter output errors because of
Exactly.
meaningful explanations.
Exactly. Let's use Gemini, and okay, Gemini is not logged into my. Are you okay? This is a different system. I was surprised. Let's use
These days it
Gemini.
works better.
Yeah, I'm surprised that Gemini is not logged in into my Android Studio, but I just forgot that this is a different Mac.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah, because I watched
so
video from Google I use it today. Android Studio talk Flutter language.
exactly. So
Thanks to Gemini.
so we're going to use Gemini to look at possibly. Yeah, we're going to use Gemini to look at what the problem is. So this works on a physical device and has been working on my simulator before now. So if you run this on your physical device, it will work. But let's just see why it's not working. Let's just see why it's giving us that particular error. So this is also another use case for Gemini where you get to use it for exactly. So it's saying something regarding to permission. So it's
Coding
asking
part.
us, what do you say?
I told the Gemini it's our coding partner.
Exactly.
We just
Yeah.
together 24 hours, 7 times a week.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's asking us for that the problem can be permissions, which is, are we enabling these two permissions in our Android manifest, which is this record, audio, and this internet? And
But
just a
no,
minute,
error
I need,
in iOS emulator. So it's something maybe info, please.
yeah,
Maybe something.
exactly, exactly, yeah. So it's also asking us for if we enable these permissions also in info.plist, and then it's asking us to do this like this. Where we get to request the microphone like this in our permission handler. We already have a permission handler like this. So when you don't approve it, it gets to give you stuff like this. It gets to give you this. So this is also another way we can do this, which is very, very nice. Then it's telling us to do, let me check if there's another thing it's telling us to do, any change it's giving us. No. So the only thing it's telling us now is the fact that most of this problem can come in from permissions, which you and I know that this problem most of the times it emanates from simulator, or I've used that where I was building something relating to internet connectivity. When I was done building it, it wasn't working on the Android version, on the Android emulator or simulator. I thought it wasn't working. All of a sudden, I ran it on the phone. Voila, that was it. So this was working on the simulator. Now it's not working on the simulator. So what you can do, test. Oh, see what he mentioned. Test on a real device. Exactly. So it has given us exactly what we need to. So this is exactly what it is. So we need to test it on a real device. Test this out on a real device. So that was exactly. But I tested on a simulator before I captured this. All of this we are captured using a simulator, literally. So you can test it on a real device, get to see how it works on a real device, and you get to see how it gives you that good feeling of using AI in many forms. So AI can be plugged into different forms of your application, different versions or different structures of what you're building in every form, in every structure, or in every dynamic or whatsoever that you're building. Okay, I think this is done exactly. So it has given us the full skeleton of what we have. So I'll call this an IDE on the cloud. So we have our lib folder. Okay, all of this is still setting up. We have our test folder. This looks like, it's not like it looks like, this is like VS Code exactly. So it gives you that feeling of VS Code. So you get to like do what you do with VS Code, and as well, you plug in or you utilize AI in its biggest form. So let's wait for this to come up. It will work based on how my internet connection is. Okay, exactly, it's up. Good. So we
Just
have our,
the difference that we haven't here iOS version, but it's not a problem.
I didn't hear you very well. What did you say, please? Hello, Anna. I didn't hear you very well.
Ah, yes,
What did you say?
I talk that difference when you use Firebase Studio, that you haven't iOS version. So not big
Exactly.
difference, yes. Not all platforms here.
Exactly. Yeah. So literally, it gives you that feeling of working with Android Studio or working with VS Code, where you get to build your stuff and run your app and utilize AI in the most advanced form. You have a button here. Okay, just give it a minute. All of this is setting up. Just a minute. So what I would want you to do is to try this out, get to see what it does. And another wonderful feature I wanted to bring to us is the darts pad. I didn't mention it, but the darts pad also brought in a whole lot of new AI stuff. I don't know if you've checked it out. So it can, I think, is what we're going to use to experiment AI, because in Lagos, here, I'm currently in Lagos and it's a little cloudy. It wants to rain, so my network is not that stable. So this might be taking some time, but I know the dashpad is lightweight. So we're going to be using dashpad to generate a to-do application that works perfectly. So this is dashpad.dev. We're going to be using it. Let me send the link to you. This Firebase Studio, the experience I got is good, but this feels like something else. Exactly, yeah, exactly. So it's the network from my area. Amazing. So this is that part. So we're going to use it to generate a particular we're going to use it to generate this particular, we worked on something that has to do with this particular image we worked on. We're going to use it to generate something that looks like this. So what I'll do is I'll pick up this, I'll go to Flutter snippet, I'll pick up an image, and this is the image exactly, and I will say, can you create this UI for me? Okay, so it will start generating the code. Let's just wait on a minute. Exactly, it's generating it. It's generating it. It's done. Let's accept it. Then it will start running it. So let's see what we have. Yes, it's giving me this pointer. I'm not meant to reason opacity with opacity again, definitely. Let's run the app. Let's see. So let's see how similar it is. It's still running, just a minute. Okay, for some reason it's not running, but I know it's because of network, because it's always run. There's no issue. These are just warnings. Okay, so what we'll do, to be on the safer side, let's just copy this out so that it won't be something that is constraining a constraint based on network. Let's comment what we have out here. Let's comment it out. We have our code base already, so let's just paste this here. Yep, still our app, still the same process. Let's run this. So let's see what we have. While we wait for that part to come up. Okay, exactly. So it has given us almost what we have. Yes, it doesn't look exactly like it. There's room for improvement. I'm using icon SAS while he's using the built-in icons. And I have some other stuff, but it's close to what we have. Exactly close to what we got, exactly. Like very close to what we have. The only thing we have is now to start restructuring it, start structuring stuff like that, start adjusting and doing the other liftings and stuff like that. So we've gotten a particular what they call it. We've gotten a particular UI. Let's say this is a Figma UI. So this is just a screenshot, just a screenshot of my Mac. I just screenshotted. So it has given me the structured it in a way it looks like a replica of it by just using this particular stuff. And I can also edit it. I can tell it to update it for me. I can tell it, please change the colors to change the colors, change the primary colors to red. Yep. So it's going to update it for me. It's going to update wherever I have the purple color. It's going to update it to red for me. So why this is giving me the network problem issue, as I mentioned. Let's just run it on our simulator and see what happens. So this is exactly what Firebase Studio does on a normal day without network glitch or stuff like that coming from my end, as I mentioned. This is exactly what it gives you. Let's see if Firebase today is done. Okay, as I mentioned, my network is very, 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 very awesome today. Exactly, it's changed it for us. So AI has taken app development up the scales. So it's not like it's going to replace us in any form, but it's going to be an advantage that we have as engineers, as mobile engineers. If you're an efficient mobile developer or a skilled mobile developer, and you have AI as your companion or as your assistant or as your sidekick, imagine the wonderful things you build. So it's been a pleasure talking with all of us. And the project is here, which I've dropped. The project is here. You get to clone it, work with it. And there's a tutorial where you get to see every single detail about what we've covered today in more in-depth form. So it's a very long tutorial because of the explanation and stuff like that. It runs you through even the process of getting the Gemini API key, runs you through the whole process, explaining every single nitty-gritty of